This is hashtag history episode 154. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Leah.
And I actually cannot express to you how excited I am for this week's episode.
Same.
Well, listen, this is the script. I can't tell you how excited I am. The literally next sentence. I'm so excited.
I can't tell you, but I'm gonna.
I can't tell you, but here I go because I really am. And you all, our listeners, know where we stand politically. It's no secret. And in fact, you all have specifically asked us over on Instagram to talk more about our political takes on the current administration from a historical standpoint. And so, with all of that in mind, I feel completely unabashed in saying that I hate this administration and I think that it's evil and wrong. Was that surprising to you?
I was like, I'm shocked. All of your side glances and kind of like veiled comments made it really unclear to me. So
okay, you're right. I have not been forward enough. So
right.
Here's me being forward and putting it on the record for anyone that was not clear. Now, why do I make this clear forward statement at such a time as this? It's not because I could indeed talk politics for 5 hours straight, which if you would like me to, I mean, again, I can.
Hey, we're going to have a live stream. Maybe that's when we do it.
Our live stream next week ends up being 6 hours long.
Yeah. Just bashing Trump
the whole time. I could. But no. That is not the reason that I brought up my hatred for this administration at such a time as this. Rather, it's because what this administration is doing right now directly relates to and affects the topic of this week's episode. We all know that the federal government is actively erasing people from history. They are erasing women. They are erasing members of the LGBTQ community. They are erasing people of color and more. And this week's topic is no exception. And that is what makes this week's topic that much more crucial, because it is becoming more and more important to not only know history, but to retain history and to make sure that it can never, ever be erased. This week, we are talking about Mary Jane Richards, a Black, once enslaved woman who served as a Union spy during the Civil War. We only know of Richards because in 1911, nearly 50 years after the end of the Civil War, a white woman named Annie Van Lew Hall was interviewed by Harper's magazine, in which she told them a story about her aunt, Elizabeth Van Lew, who had operated an espionage ring within the Confederate White House, and how she had enlisted a Black woman. In this story, she was named Mary Elizabeth Bowser, but it is Mary Jane Richards, who worked directly in the Confederate White House and got secret information directly from the Confederate President Jefferson Davis. Now, as time has gone on, we have learned that much of this story was not real. That's how these stories go as they pass generation to generation. They kind of become exaggerated, and there's a little bit of fluff that gets added. But what we do know for a fact is that a woman named Mary Jane Richards was indeed a spy for the Union Army and did indeed change the course of history as a result of her brave, formidable acts. Because she is a woman, because she is a Black woman, because she was an enslaved Black woman, of course, there is not much information known about her. But I wanted to put together this episode, regardless of how short or long it may be, because knowing this woman's name is more important now than ever. It's imperative that we know about her, that we know her story, and that we tell her story. So with that, let's get into it.
Love it.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm Leah.
And this is Hashtag History,
the podcast for both history nerds and history haters alike,
where we dive into history's greatest stories of controversy, conspiracy, and corruption.
Okay, we lied.
When I said I hated the administration?
No. No, we lied when we said last week that that was the final drink sponsored by our friend Jackie, because this one definitely is too.
Oh, okay, nice.
So thanks, Jackie.
Thank you, Jackie, and sorry that we cut you short last week then.
Yeah. This week's cocktail, I've gone back to being a literal Lacey, as I like to say it, because we're drinking a cocktail I discovered on Pinterest, of all places, called the Liquid Mary Jane.
I love it.
Yeah. This sent me down a big rabbit hole of finding many different variations on the Mary Jane
Mm,
cocktail, all of which contain blue curacao for some
mm,
reason. I'm not really sure why.
hmm
Now, the original recipe I found has a lot more ingredients than the one that I'll be reading off in a moment, but to be honest, they scared me.
mm.
Not for the reasons we normally give, like them being, I don't know, gross.
Yeah, there are two reasons we give for not picking cocktails with several ingredients. One is they're gross. It's vermouth and
It's vermouth and
Campari. Or
Campari.
reason number two is because they're expensive. That's
Right.
also why we don't pick those
Oh
types.
God, yeah. Like that, what was it, bison vodka that
Oh,
I searched high and low for and couldn't find, and I was willing to spend
I
$45
know
on
you
it.
were. I know you were.
hmm Anyways, the reason I'm scared is because I actually thought it would be too sweet.
Mm.
Yeah, which a little strange for us. We like sweet drinks.
We do. Although I think literally in last week's episode,
Oh, you're
it
right.
got knocked down by
Because
a
it was
little
too
bit
sweet.
because it was too sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess it's good that I simplified the recipe a bit, and here's what we're working with.
Okay.
Okay.
hmm
Spiced rum.
I can't wait for spiced rum.
I know.
I
So
can't
equal
wait.
parts spiced rum, melon liqueur, and blue curacao. So now that's pretty sweet already. So just imagine what I'm cutting out if that's what we're working with. And then
Off the top of your head, do you remember what some of
I
those other
honestly
sweet
don't. I
things
feel
were?
like there was also pomegranate or what's it called? The pomegranate sweet stuff.
Grenadine?
Grenadine.
Yeah.
I feel like
Grenadine,
there
simple
was
syrup.
grenadine, simple syrup, yeah, other
Mm.
stuff, which would have been too much. But yeah, so equal parts of those, and then you top off with lemon juice and pineapple juice, and you can garnish with a pineapple. I just realized now I have frozen pineapple, and I
Oh.
forgot. I
Oh
could have
well.
done that. Yeah, so you're supposed to layer each ingredient over ice, and the drink is supposed to look ombre, but
hmm
mine didn't.
Mine didn't at all, not even
Also,
remotely.
we've compared because we are recording via Zoom separately, and our drinks look wildly different.
Wildly different. And I really do feel like I followed it
Oh,
to a T.
same.
So
Mine looks more like the color of Shrek's swamp.
Shrek's skin.
Shrek's skin, honestly, yeah. The makeup that whoever plays Shrek on Broadway
Yeah.
washes off, that's what my drink looks like. And
Mine looks like
yeah.
if Shrek got covered in mud and the
Mm.
green paint and the mud are washing off. That's what mine looks like.
No, it doesn't.
Yes,
Yours
it does.
blue.
I think it looks greenish.
Okay.
Either I am
Teal.
A deep teal, a hashtag history teal, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, very different, but regardless, it's still gonna be sweet as hell.
I can't wait though.
I know, me too. So cheers, and
Cheers.
let's see our rating.
Alrighty. It's not a bad rating. I think it could be attributed to the fact that Leah and I made our drinks and then off air talked for 30 minutes and
Literally
I let
30
the
minutes,
ice and I let the ice melt in my
Is it
drink.
watery?
It's watery.
Oh, mine's not too bad.
I
put a lot of pineapple juice to top mine off. So.
I didn't. I thought about putting in more than the recipe called for because I love pineapple juice. So yeah, I don't know that I can give this a real true rating because was a cup of water one of the ingredients, because that's what I'm working with right now.
Yeah, no, I definitely, it's supposed to be like 1 ounce of pineapple juice. I probably put 3.
I love that.
Yeah.
Love that. I think, like I said, can't really give a totally fair rating because it's kind of watery. But I think the only thing other than drink it after you make it instead of let it melt for 30 minutes, my only other recommendation is maybe a little more of the rum. So it'd be just a little spicier, a little more of a kick.
I don't even taste the rum, honestly.
No, I don't taste the rum. I think I feel it after I've swallowed. I feel just like a little bit of, I don't know.
You know,
something sharp in my mouth.
Be so good is what is it, like orgeat, like that they put in tiki drinks? It would make it even sweeter, but that would be good.
It would be the opposite of the spicy effect, but delicious.
Yeah. Maybe do like a full shot of rum instead of 3/4 ounces, which is like a half a shot.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think I'm going 7.
Okay, I'm going a little higher, but it is a little too sweet for me. Like I couldn't have more than one of these. So I'm gonna go 8.
Does it feel tiki drink to you?
It does feel tiki
Yeah.
to me. Yeah. Like I think if there was a palm umbrella or something on here
And it was in the right glass.
and it was in the correct glass, like yeah, for sure.
Well, thank you. This was a fun one to put together. I actually, this was so fun for me to put together because there were so many ingredients still, but I had all but the spiced rum. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I even had the spiced rum. The only thing I had to buy was pineapple juice, which Nico was buying for a recipe anyways. So I was like,
there you go. Perfect. Okay. Now, of course, as I've already alluded to, there is not very much documented about Mary Jane Richards, and a lot of the gaps we see exist in her childhood years.
I feel like that's common. I mean, obviously, even more so for a formerly enslaved person.
Yeah,
but I feel like I mean, we talked about, I feel like there was a president that we were like, that we covered at one point that we were like, we don't know much about him. Or
yeah, possibly. I thought you were going to say almost every woman we've ever covered. It's always
yes.
like, so she came onto the earth as an 8-year-old girl, because that's the first known record.
Yeah, that's probably what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Yep.
But really, I mean, I feel like that's the experience with a lot of women is the first time they get any mention in history is when they get married.
Yep.
So for Mary Jane Richards, we don't have any records of where she was born, or if she was a victim of slavery from birth, but it is assumed that she was, and it's assumed that she was born in Virginia. This assumption comes from the fact that we do have records of her baptism at St. John's Church in Richmond, Virginia on May 17th, 1846. If she was baptized as a baby, and as 90% of baptisms do occur before a child reaches 1 year old, we can assume that she was likely born in 1846 or 1845, roughly 15-ish years before the start of the Civil War. We also know that St. John's was the church that the Van Lew family attended. So the assumption is that she was born into slavery, born enslaved to the Van Lew family. That's all like a pretty safe bet to make. Not long after her baptism, Richards was actually sent north for an education and later to Liberia to serve as a missionary. Liberia, the same country whose president recently visited our president, Donald J. Trump. You've seen this, right?
No.
Have you seen this?
I don't think I have. I try to avoid as much as I can.
Bless you. My therapist would say that you're doing my homework for me very, very well.
Yeah.
I've told my therapist every session I failed the assignment again because I'm addicted to the New York Times. Okay, well then be prepared to cringe, curl those toes up, make the face like, oh, you're really not ready.
Okay.
So Liberia, it's the same country whose president recently visited our president, who then our president proceeded to tell the Black Liberian president that he was very impressed by his fluent English and asked him where he had been educated in order to speak such beautiful English, to which the Liberian president responded, Liberia? Because if the president of the United States of America knew American history at all, or really even at a minimum read like a briefing before meeting with foreign leadership, maybe
kind of his job,
if he had done that, he would have known that Liberia was actually a quote unquote project of the American Colonization Society that sent Black people there because they didn't know what else to do with them. They had already stolen them from their homes in Africa and didn't believe they could ever lead successful lives in America if not enslaved. And therefore, they organized for Black people who had been formerly enslaved to be sent to Liberia, to a country founded and funded by the US. And therefore, the country's native language is indeed English. But I digress. Richards wasn't particularly happy in Liberia, however, and was actually arrested when she returned to the States for what author and historian Thaddeus Morgan assumes was the result.
That's a cool name.
Isn't that such a cool? He obviously is a historian, right?
Right.
Thaddeus Morgan. He's either a historian or no, I guess that's both. I was gonna say he's either a historian or he's an archaeologist, but those could be one and the same.
Yeah. Indiana Jones.
Exactly what I was thinking. Indiana Jones or whatever his name is from City of Atlantis, the cartoon movie. Milo Thatch. Yep. So Thaddeus Morgan, he assumes that the reason why she was arrested when she came back to Virginia is the result of a law that existed at the time, which had prohibited Black Virginians from returning to the state after they had received an education elsewhere.
What? Didn't want to get their smarts spread
Precisely.
Around.
Well, I think I'm like tiptoeing back on the soapbox. Get off the soapbox. Okay, I'm back on the soapbox, everyone, because we wonder why slavery is still so relevant to this day and why so many through lines still exist to this day. This law was clearly in place to both discourage Black Americans from pursuing educational opportunities, right? And also to limit the skilled opportunities that existed in Virginia to only white educated people. Richards would remain in jail for roughly 10 days before her bail was paid by the Van Lew family. Now, the Van Lew family, as we can already discern, sucked because they enslaved people. But one member of the family, the daughter of the Van Lew patriarch, Elizabeth Van Lew, she got woke after receiving an education in Philadelphia, and she became an outspoken abolitionist.
Go, Lizzie.
I like that takes a lot of bravery, right? To break of the molds of your family, especially growing up in Richmond, Virginia, of all places. When her father passed away in 1843, she and her mother both freed all of the enslaved people on the property, as well as spent what today would be the equivalent of $200,000 in her father's money to help buy and free other family members belonging to the people her family had formerly enslaved.
That is amazing.
Yeah, it's great.
Also the bare minimum.
It's literally the bare minimum to not hold people hostage, but great. Like I am glad that she did that.
Yes.
We of course know that Richards was one of these people formerly enslaved by the family. After she was freed, she continued to work in the Van Lew household, which is like certainly not an uncommon trend in this time, considering once again the severe limitations and prohibitions on Black people, free and otherwise. When the Civil War broke out in 1861, Van Lew and her mother became strong supporters of the Union cause, something that was very much looked down upon in their very southern Confederate state. I mean, like I just said, we're talking about Richmond, Virginia here. Richmond, Virginia, as in the capital of the Confederacy, where the Confederate White House was, where the president of the Confederate States of America, Jefferson Davis, resided. We're talking about enemy territory here, like enemy number one territory. Van Lew was instrumental in not only assisting Union soldiers there who had been injured or fallen ill and were being held in a prison hospital, but also while tending to their needs, she would smuggle information in and out that would lead to several successful prison escapes. She housed Union soldiers in secret at her place. She got a Union supporter put on staff at the prison. I mean, she's doing the things here. She was getting messages passed with invisible ink that only appeared when you applied milk to them.
Oh my God. That is so, what's it called? I'm stealing the Declaration of Independence. That is so Nicolas Cage.
That is so Nicolas Cage. It really is. Isn't that cool? I feel like I would be the killjoy blonde lady in that movie, though. Like, don't you dare put lemon juice on the Declaration of Independence.
100%.
Don't you? Like, I couldn't be in the room when it happened.
No,
I'd have to leave. She would like get messages passed through hollowed out eggs. It's really cool and really impressive. She was operating a Union spy ring so successful that Union General Benjamin Butler, upon hearing about her, actually recruited her for an official position with the U.S. government.
Wow.
Many members of this Union spy ring that Van Lew operated were Black Americans, which included none other than Mary Jane Richards. According to, once again, our historian, archaeologist, founder of the Declaration of Independence, Thaddeus Morgan, Richards was Van Lew's, quote, most valuable asset, unquote, in that Richards had the, quote unquote, advantage. That's me, not Thaddeus, placing quotations around the word advantage, in that she could pass off as a house servant something that wealthy Van Lew and many of her other white counterparts could not.
Well, and the other thing about servants at that time is people acted like they were invisible.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like people
Because
would
they're
talk,
unintelligent.
yeah, and people would just like talk as if they were not in the room.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I put quotations around the word advantage because what an awful thing to say is an advantage, but that's precisely it. Invisible, considered unintelligent. So even if you're speaking about secret war plans in a signal chat, I'm just kidding. Even if you are speaking about secret war plans around the dinner table, Mary Jane Richards is coming in to bust the tables.
She might just overhear what you're saying, but
right. Now, the extent to which Richards was able to infiltrate the Davis White House directly, it varies amongst historians. Some historians are of the mindset that she only served in the Confederate White House a time or two, while others believe that she served there on several occasions, not only cooking and cleaning for the family, but also sweeping in Davis's office, which allowed her to peer through his records, peek through his desk and whatnot, and report all of her findings back to Van Lew, who then reported them all the way to the top of the Union Army.
Wow.
Whatever the discrepancies may be amongst historians, we know for certain of one occasion upon which Richards stated that she went, quote, into President Davis's house while he was absent, unquote, and that she was able during this time to look for specific war documents, the likes of which were later mentioned in Ulysses S. Grant's war notes. Grant being the general of the entire Union Army and later President of the United States. Following the war, Richards went on to become a teacher, specifically for those formerly enslaved in Richmond. She never shied away from her wartime stories. Well, not entirely. By that, I mean that she did tell several people and even conducted a few public speeches in which she told about how she had been a spy for the Union cause and had served directly in the Confederate White House. But when I say that she did shy away to a certain degree, what I mean is that she was pretty intent on disguising her name. She would sometimes go by Mary Richards, sometimes by Mary Bowser.
So that's where the Bowser came from. Yeah.
We heard that earlier. And Bowser comes from, there was a man she was married to for a brief period of time. And that was his last name. She would sometimes go by Richmonia Richards, Richmonia R. St. Pierre, Mary J. R. Garvin. I mean, the list just goes on and on.
Is that a real name?
Yeah, I think if someone said their name was Richmonia R. St. Pierre, you're like, okay.
I would question.
Yeah, I have questions, but I can see that you want your privacy. Besides the fact that she was a Black woman in America in the mid 1800s, the several name changes certainly add to the difficulty in knowing more about her. Like I mentioned in the introduction of this episode, we likely would never know much at all about Mary Jane Richards had Van Lew's niece not revealed Richards' identity in Harper's Monthly in 1911. I was actually able to locate the article, which was like, obviously for me, super cool and nerdy to read an article in Harper's from over a century ago.
That's pretty cool.
The author, William Gilmore Baymer, mentioned Richards at one point when highlighting Elizabeth Van Lew's genius. In this article, he called her Mary Elizabeth Bowser. And here's what he said about her. And the her that he's referring to at the start of this sentence I'm about to read is about Van Lew. Okay, quote, her method of reaching President Davis in his least guarded moments is evidence of her genius as a spy and a leader of spies. The Van Lews had owned a Negro girl of unusual intelligence. Several years before the war, she had been given her freedom, sent north, and educated at Miss Van Lew's expense. This young woman, whose name was Mary Elizabeth Bowser, was now sent for. She came and for a time was coached and trained for her mission. Then, in consummation of Miss Van Lew's scheming, she was installed as a waitress in the White House of the Confederacy. What she was able to learn, how long she remained behind Jefferson Davis's dining chair, and what became of the girl after the war ended are questions to which time has effaced the answers, unquote. Now, because nuanced is the buzzword of this season of the podcast. I will use it here when I say that, like, this whole thing is super nuanced and complex and complicated.
Mm-hmm.
The reason we know about Mary Jane Richards is because of a white woman. Richards' bravery and courage is overshadowed by the white woman who put her in that position in which she had to exhibit bravery and courage.
Mm.
So while I don't love that part of the story, that the reason we know about Richards is because Harper's was doing a feature on Van Lew, I'm also grateful that her story came out somehow. I think this is, we just keep talking about this season. It's a nuanced topic.
Yeah, to your point, like, I hadn't really thought about this until you just said that, is like how I know she's free. She wasn't a slave, but like, did Richards really want to be there, or did she feel obligated to be there? Either way, what she did was amazing, but like, it's very interesting to think about that.
Yeah. How much agency did she really have? How much did she feel any sort of burden or obligation to Van Lew because
she freed her?
Because she freed her, because I'm using quotes here when I say because she paid for her education and gave her a good life. That is like disgustingly air quoted, right? It's like you said, it's the bare minimum when you're holding someone hostage to not treat them like shit while you're still doing this horrible, sinful thing. And so, to what degree did she feel indebted to her, obligated to do this? And maybe that's not the case. And maybe she jumped in and was like, oh my God, I'm so excited to be a part of this movement and this thing. But she would have never been in that situation had she not been stolen from her homeland and enslaved by this white family who then, and Van Lew is an amazing person, right? Like, she did these wonderful, amazing things. But it's only because of her story being highlighted that we even know of all the other people that did so much under her direction.
Yeah.
On the flip side, as phenomenal and brave and courageous as Richards was, her story has evolved and morphed so much over time that the line between fact and fiction has started to blur. That happens a lot in history.
Yep.
There are, I was like, that happens a lot in history. That happens a lot in my life. I'm like, a story that I've been telling for the last 5 years has just continued to grow, to where I know what you're going to say about the stairs in New York.
Oh my God.
Every time I tell the story, another flight has been added.
Yes. Do you want me to tell this story now?
Please tell the story.
Okay. We were in New York and we may or may not have stopped at a, all-you-can-drink mimosa brunch at some restaurant that we can't remember.
And I would just like to add that it was bottomless mimosas, but for 45 minutes. Do you remember that? The time slot was 45 minutes.
Right. There was a limit to the time.
It was expensive.
And it was expensive. So we were like, we're going to make this worth it. And so we had a competition amongst the three of us who were present to who could drink as many mimosas as possible. And I will say, looking back, maybe slightly embarrassed about our behavior, but we were in our mid-20s.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. The thing is, like, I'm embarrassed by my behavior. At the same time, I would probably do that again because, but see, it's like the behavior, which is worse, being intoxicated in public or being cheap? Because if I were presented with the same situation right now, I would likely do the same thing again. And it's not because I want to be intoxicated in public. It's because I will not
spend $45. Yeah.
If it's going to be expensive and I have 45 minutes to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways,
regrets and no regrets at the same time.
Regrets.
No regrets. I was going to say that.
So anyways, needless to say, we had a lot of mimosas. I think by the end of them, they were just serving us juice and telling us it was mimosa.
I hope that's the truth.
Yeah. And anyways, long story short, there was
we wouldn't have known the difference.
Yeah, we wouldn't have known the difference. There was a flight of stairs. We were on the second floor of this restaurant, but
I'm actually being serious. I think you're lying. I thought we were on the first floor and we had to go up the stairs.
No, because I did some internet sleuthing.
That's right. I forgot you looked it up.
I did some internet sleuthing and looked at like pictures of this restaurant that we went to, and it is a single flight of stairs, and I think you had to go down them to get to the bathroom, but then you had to come back up to get back to our table.
That's where my memory is of going back up.
Yes. And so I mean, maybe you had to go multiple times, and so that's why you're conflating
It's possible.
it. But every time Rachel tells this story, another flight of stairs is added.
I went down or up 150 stairs potentially. 150, 175.
Yeah. So it was one flight of stairs.
So it's not even Civil War history that morphs and changes over time. It's
personal
New York history from
too.
less than 5 years ago that morphs and changes over
I think
time.
it was
as
probably
well.
like 10 years ago now.
You're actually right about that. But yeah. COVID years don't count. I just skipped over them. Yeah, so we know how that is, changing stories and exaggerating them as time goes on. And Mary Jane Richards' story was certainly no exception. There are a lot of stories about her having a photographic memory, something that I clearly do not have because I cannot picture those stairs accurately in my mind. Or you can't.
No, I looked it up, Rachel.
You're the one that doesn't know. Anyway, there's all these stories about her having a photographic memory, and that was particularly useful when she would have short periods of time in which she could look through Davis's documents and then report back on them. That's a big thing that's told about Richards, is just like how phenomenal her photographic memory was. And although this has been reported at length, it's not necessarily been confirmed. There's also a story about how she set fire to the Confederate White House in 1865, but this claim is unsubstantiated. There's also a story about her being smuggled out of Richmond and into Philadelphia in a pile of manure.
Ew. Also
unsubstantiated. And sadly, one of the most commonly circulated pictures of Mary Jane Richards, if you look her up online right now, I would venture to say 50% of the pictures that you're going to see are not actually Mary Jane Richards.
I'm doing it right now.
Yeah. And yeah, if you want to share your screen, I'll tell you exactly which one is not her.
Okay. Sharing my screen. This one, not her.
So that one is that is a drawing of her that is presumed to be the most likely to be her. Wait, the third one over.
This one?
Yes. There we go.
Not her.
And then you can see that same picture. It shows up like three lines down. It's showing up a couple times. Yeah, it shows up there at the top again. Okay, so maybe not 50%, 30% of the pictures that you're seeing, those are not actually her. That is a picture of a woman named Mary Bowser, but it's dated too many decades later to be the Mary in this story.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's sad, right? That like history morphs and changes so much over time that even that picture is not attributed properly.
Right.
What is, however, substantiated and proven and known is that Mary Jane Richards was incredible and is a name, whatever her name may be, that should be a household name. We need to be talking about her more and her brave, remarkable, and unfathomable contributions to the Union cause. I was grateful to learn in the course of my research that Richards actually has been recognized by the U.S. government, for now, as Mary Elizabeth Bowser and was inducted into the Military Intelligence Hall of Fame. So now it's our turn to make sure that she continues to be recognized in everyday society. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of #History.
All sources used to put together this episode can be found on our website at #history-pod.com.
A special thank you to my husband, Alex, for editing the podcast and always laughing at our jokes when he does so. You are the best. Subscribe to us on whatever podcast platform you use. Share about us with your family and friends, and then give us a rate and review.
And be sure to check us?
Be sure to check us out.
Oh, God. Okay. And be sure to check us out on Instagram at #history_podcast.
And come join us over on Patreon, where for as little as $1 a month, you can help support our books and booze supply. This is really a place where you can just support the podcast, and in exchange for your support, you will receive an automatic 15% off all merchandise, and we mail you cards and stickers.
Yeah, boy.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.